Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another Bugs and Brews fly tying tutorial. Today I'm going to be tying up a France fly, and if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to be breaking open a New England IPA called I Have a Camp Near There by Logyard Brewing up in Kane, Pennsylvania. Great brewery from up there, so if you're interested in that, that's going to be at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's get a fresh hook in the vise and let's get to tying. Alrighty, we're going to start things off with a Lively Legs 320J, and the vise is a size 16. And as for the bead, I got a copper tungsten bead in size 2.4 millimeter. And for this, I am going to use a olive thread and 70 denier. But the nice thing about this fly is you can mix and match different colors to get the exact shade that you want. I'm going for more of an olive look, but I do different things with like browns and tans. Because if you mix the under thread with your stretch tubing, it's going to give you different shades. Like you could use a tan stretch tubing or an olive stretch tubing or a brown and use all different types of under thread, and it's going to look different for everything. So I put my ran my thread to the back of the hook there, and for my tail, I'm using a Coq de Leon in medium Pardo. Just going to grab a couple of tail fibers off there, and we'll measure out about a shank's length. Give a little bit of a pinch wrap, a couple loose wraps, and now I can pull that tail to the desired length. Run my thread back to the bend, and then what I like to do is lift up my tail, bring my thread under, and then splay that tail out just like that. Now I'll run my thread up to the front here. My bead's sliding around a little bit, but that's going to be fixed here in a second once we start that stretch tubing. Now cut off the excess. And what I'm going to be using is a micro green stretch tubing. So you can kind of see that right here in the bag. I'm going for either like a small Baetis nymph look or even like a caddis larva or something along those lines. So right now I'm going to start that stretch tubing here. And once I get a couple of tight wraps, starting, back the shank of the hook, I'll begin pulling on the stretch tubing to kind of create a taper, because the tighter you pull this stuff, the thinner it becomes. And as I get to the back, I want that thinner profile. I want to give it like that carrot look, to really give that illusion of a nymph. So now that I have that done, I come back to the front, and I am going to actually whip finish here because I've been using a lot of thread tension. Because as I pull that stretch tubing, I gotta make sure that stays. I want that profile to stay. So what I'll do, I got a rotary vise here, so I'm going to use my rotary function at the back. This is where, as I start to palmer this up, with touching wraps, that's where I'm going to have the most tension on this stretch tubing here. And as I go up, I'll slowly start to release that tension on this to where the back will be the thinnest, and we'll get a little bit of a taper going forward. So we'll do that now. Got my real tight grip on that. And as I come up, I'm just slowly releasing some of that tension. Got a little bit of a taper. Still trying to keep this thing as thin as possible for just quick sink rate use in contact nymphing. So I got about 2 wraps on there, pulling my thread pretty tight. 1, 2, 3, just in front to lock everything in. And now I cut out that stretch tubing. So as for dubbing, what I'm going to use, I love that SLF squirrel dubbing. I have a mixture of that, quite the variety. I'm going to use the olive brown and just grab a small little bit of that. You can see that in my hand, and that's even probably a little too much for what I want. So create that real thin dubbing noodle here. You can kind of see that's not real long, but that should be perfect. And that's all I'm going to put on. I'm going to cord this thing up, so then what will happen is that thread, I just want that to go back in between the bead and that ball of dubbing there, just to hide it. I'll give it one more whip finish here. Cut off. And there we go. That's the France fly. Really easy to tie and extremely effective. So that's all there is to the France fly. Super easy fly to tie, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. I mentioned earlier about mixing and matching some different thread colors and some of the stretch tubing colors. And right here, I just kind of have some examples. I have it in clear. I got it in tan, brown, the green, which we used in the video here today. There's an olive color that I use for some stuff. And then I just have a variety in here. It looks like some yellow, some brown, some tan, and then some amber. So a lot of different things that you can do with this, especially when you're altering the thread colors underneath. That's going to really help you to match whatever it is you're trying to match in your local streams. And you can throw some hot spots under there. I know Holsinger's Fly Shop has a good tutorial on what they call the hot butt France fly. It's just a France fly with a hot spot at the very end. So a lot of stuff you can do with it. Performs extremely well as far as sink rate goes because of the synthetic materials used in the construction of the fly. But you know, give it a whirl and leave a comment below on if you've tried this fly before and if you know what your thoughts are on it. But let's get into this beer right here. Again, this is called I Have a Camp Near There. And it's from Logyard Brewing. And I kind of bought this because our camp up in north central Pennsylvania, not quite near here, but I'll just read the description and let you know what that says. Most people have never heard of or been to Kane, Pennsylvania. However, when we explain that we're in the Allegheny National Forest, we typically hear people say, "Oh, I have a camp near there." Enjoy this juicy, hazy double New England style IPA on all of your adventures. So let's break into it here. It's a good looking beer right there. Getting tropical notes, as I think that's pretty typical with the hazy. I like it when these breweries put the hops that are in there. I don't think I have the palate to really tell, to be honest. I mean, typically you have your Citra, your Mosaic, the real popular ones in these hazy IPAs. And you get the usual tropical notes from hazy, pineapple, citrus fruits, things like that. Really awesome beer, coming in at 7.8%. A little high. I don't like them that high. I think 6% is ideal. But yeah, great beer. I think what I'm going to do is as I drink this, I'm going to tie up a few more France flies and just enjoy the rest of the night. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Cheers.